Hello YouTube, Dave here again. Welcome back to another installment of the Dragon Hoard series where I go through and kind of flip through and take a look at a couple of things from the Dragon magazines that I have in my collection. Today I'm taking a look at issue number 287 from September of 2001. This one is all about the planes. So this is Out of This World, Demi-Planes of Dreams, Celestial Delinquents, Planar Faction Elite. 16 psionic feats. We might take a look at some of those because this was 3.0 psionics and it needed help. This also would have come with one of four maps that you can put together to make this huge map of the Forgotten Realms setting. Now, I had the Forgotten Realms. I had the map that I can't remember if it came with the GM or the DM screen, or if it came in the campaign setting itself. But I had a couple of the actual maps, but I didn't have the full set. And I think I ended up giving them away because I already had Forgotten Realms maps. I didn't really need like extras of them. But still kind of cool that, back in the day, you would get some campaign setting maps from the different magazines. So this would have been polybagged at that point in time. We also have the good, the bad, and the ugly. So the good, heroic prestige prestige class, the Fiend Slayer. Sometimes I read faster than I talk. The bad, the villainous prestige class, Dreadmaster, and the ugly, four new monsters from the Chaos Spire, plus some ugly PC portraits. So let's go ahead and just dive right into it here. Here we've got the Star Wars role-playing game, available, the Rebellion era sourcebook, available in September. So that kind of came out the month of this magazine. Someone had to steal it before Chewie could fly it. Awesome stuff. So here we got the cover art reproduced. And that's pretty cool looking. But what I like here is the Cave of Contents. So this is the table of contents. And they even give you like a little map here just to use. You can do whatever you want with it. But I think this is a really cool inclusion. I think the last issue had a really underwhelming table of contents. So this is definitely an improvement here. And just gives you everything that you need. And then we've got our editorial, which we're not going to really bother with right now. Some ads for a game I have never heard of, Divided Ground. So if you play Divided Ground, let me know. Some Dragonlance novels. Oh, I wish I had that slipcase. I have those 3 books, but I do love me a good slipcase. All right, scale mail, and I will probably dedicate a future video series to just looking at some of the like scale mail and prison mail letters from Dungeon Magazine and Dragon Magazine. I had those backwards. Scale mail's Dragon, prison mail was Dungeon, and maybe even some of the editorials. So I'm not really going to focus on them here, but this one I might have to come back to because one of the titles for one of the letters is Foot Hair Fetish. So I don't know if I want to look at that or if I should avoid that at all costs. All right, Dungeon Siege ad. Pretty cool to see. Demonology from Mongoose Publishing. They did quite a few actually like interesting books back in the day. I think they did the Slayer's Guide series as well. And they had some cool like books in that series. The only one that I have is the Slayer's Guide to Rules Lawyers, which is obviously not meant to be a serious product. Some books, novels. Oh, we got the Servant of the Shard there. So just a bunch of novel stuff that were coming out around that time. The releases here. So September saw the release of Manual of the Planes. Surprise, surprise, right? The magazine ties into the release for that month. But everything else is novels here. So Temple Hill, Baldur's Gate 2, Throne of Ball, and Bertram's Guide to the War of Souls, Volume 1. So those are all novels there. What do we have coming up for accessories here? So in October, I'm sorry, Enemies and Allies and Oriental Adventures. Unfortunately, I never got either of those. I kind of want to get Enemies and Allies, so if that comes available print on demand, I'll probably pick that one up. And then in November, we've got Lords of Darkness, and that's a Forgotten Realms accessory, and that book is awesome. I absolutely love that one. It was the soft cover, full color release there, but just an awesome book. And then an advertisement for the Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring tabletop battle game from Games Workshop. which I had the Urukai a package of like the Urukai minis just to have for my D&D campaign, but I don't think I ever ended up actually using them. Some Forgotten Realms novels there. Reaper miniatures. They always had sort of a minimalist approach to their advertising. Some novels. Oh my god. I can't remember if the last issue had a chainmail, if it had a chainmail added in or not, but I loved the chainmail game. It was such a great game, and Wizards had to screw it up by canceling it within days of winning a major Game of the Year award. I think it was Origins that they won like Miniatures Game of the Year, and then like a day or two later they announced that they were canceling it. And in 2003 we got the plastic pre-painted random D&D minis, which never had a fraction of the effort put into actually like creating a world to play the game in the way that Chainmail did. Chainmail, I wish they would have released the actual like campaign setting for Chainmail, because it was awesome. There's an ad for Rifts if you're into that sort of thing. The Dreamlands here, so some planes to use if you want to. I'm not going to focus too much on this, but if you do want me to look at this in more detail, like I said, when any of these videos come out, just let me know in the comments, and I can certainly mark it for revisiting. A guide for combating Celestials, which I'm just going to move past here, because how often do you have Celestials attack your player? Well, I guess if your players are evil, it makes sense. But just some tactics, or some actual adventure seeds too. A curious Astral Deva has heard of the PC's exploits and decides to test them. It organizes a series of challenges to test the party's morals. Interesting. And then versus Celestials, some spells and stuff to take there. The Fractious Factions. So the Prestige classes here. I don't think I'm going to look at the... Oh my god. Okay. No, I'm not going to take a look at these ones. Holy, how many are there? That's a few too many. I'm going to take a look at the Fiendslayer and Dreadmaster. So again, if you want me to look at these Prestige classes any closer, let me know, and I can definitely come back to it. But my god, we got 1, 2... That's 6 Prestige classes, 3, 4... 5 Prestige classes. Nope, there's 6. There's 6. Okay. Yeah, we're not going to go through all that. I'm sorry. That's all the Prestige classes. And, truthfully, I'm not a big fan of Prestige classes. I know I've mentioned this more than once, but I just never... Most Prestige classes require that you're a multi-class character, and multi-class characters already tend to lose benefits of their class because you're not being able to maximize your progression in a specific class, right? If you've got 20 levels of progression and you're 10 levels of one class, 10 levels of one class, 3 levels of another class, and then 7 levels of Prestige class, right? You're just kind of watering down what you can do. And a lot of Prestige classes, you lose more benefits of your regular class than you would have if you just stuck with it, right? Like, you get 1 or 2 really neat abilities that are unique, but you tend to lose more than you gain. So these must be the Sonic Feats. Oh boy. I don't know if I want to look at these or not, to be honest. Extra power, so you can learn an extra power. Fortify power. Okay, this one I might actually take a look at, because one of the big issues with Sonics in 3.0 was that all of the abilities were set. They were static, and there was no way to improve them. Like regular spells, you would just, as you gained levels, would have extra effects, right? Like, so for Cure Light Wounds, it was a D8 plus 1 per caster level up to a maximum plus 5. So when you reach 5th level, you're rolling a D8 plus 5, and your spells were getting better as you progressed. Psionics didn't do that. They would have higher level versions of lower level abilities, and you could always lose an ability, like whenever you gained a level, you could drop something that you already knew to take something new in its place, which is fine, but like they were just never going to get better. So the Fortify power, you can manifest powers to greater effect. All variable numeric effects of a fortified power are increased by 1/4, 1/4, my God. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. I was just taking a look at it here. So it's 25%. I was going to complain about that because the Empower spell meta magic feat is 50%. But, so it increases stuff by an extra 25%. Fortified power costs a number of power points, additional power points, equal to its standard cost plus 2. So, but you can also repeatedly fortify it, and each time it increases it by that 25% again. I don't know if it. I don't know if there's a cap on that. It doesn't look like there is. But each time you do it, it costs an extra 2 points. So yeah, it's definitely a solution, but I don't know. Like in 3.5, you would just be able to augment your abilities, most of them just naturally, by just spending extra points on them, and they tended to be, I think, better effects for like adding for each point that you add more or something like that than what we had here. But at least this tries to make it so that you can empower your abilities. It's not great, but the fact that you can at least stack it is fine, I guess. But I don't know. A lot of these just look like they are meta magic feats just sort of redone as psionics, but still doesn't make psionics worth taking in 3.0 in my opinion. All right, here we got some fiction, so we're gonna skip that. Have you ever, like, let me know, did you guys ever read the fiction in Dragon Magazine? Because I'm gonna be honest, I always skipped it. I don't think I've ever read any of the fiction articles in Dragon Magazine. It just wasn't my thing. It might be something that I'd go back and redo, maybe, and actually like start reading to see how good they were. But I just never got into it. So let me know. Did you guys read the fiction that was included in the magazine, or did you kind of skip over it like I did? All right, The Shadow Dark House. Okay, by Ed Greenwood. Oh, okay. This is actually that's actually I think what this is. So this is actually kind of neat. I like the art style here. You know, you kind of got like the cross section of the house, the building there, and some descriptions for it, NPCs that are included there, and kind of what they can do. Just a cool little inclusion. Creatures of the Chaos Spire. Here we go. This is going to be some Lovecraftian level stuff, right? So what do we got here? Oh, yeah. There we go. The Bone Spitter. So, a little aside here. My wife and I have been watching Star Trek Lower Decks. And we finished season 4, so I can't wait for season 5 to come out. I'm really upset that they're canceling it at season 5. But we absolutely love that show, and looking at Bone Spitter, it reminds me a little bit of the Moopsie, which is probably my favorite thing from that entire show. It doesn't spit your bones, but it does drink them, and it looks a little. The Moopsie is definitely not this in terms of its design, but I don't know. Just thought I'd throw that out there. Then we got the Chaos Weird. Oh, that is horrific. I love it. It almost looks like it's just a bunch of faces on top of a film. But anyway, yeah, that's some good stuff there. The Chaos Eater, that's probably the weakest picture. I'm not looking at their abilities or anything. So what do you got here? Challenge rating 9 for the Chaos Eater. Bone Spitter is challenge rating 5. That's kind of disappointing. The Chaos Word is challenge rating 12. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That looks like something that would be a higher level threat. And then we got the Tetramorph, Gargantuan Ooze, challenge rating 16. There we go. All right, here we are. So these are the prestige classes I do want to look at. So these are the Dreadmaster. So the Dreadmasters are the ultimate tyrants. Oh, actually, what do we have here? So here's prestige class Formed in the image of the Dreadmaster, the old specialty priest of Bane. So face of Faerun. Bane is one of my favorite Forgotten Realms deities. Not my favorite deity overall, but from the Forgotten Realms, Bane is definitely my favorite. With like the Zentarum, or his portion of the Zentarum anyway. So yeah, this is based off of that. So I'm definitely interested to see what we have here. So Dreadmaster, the ultimate tyrants, they seek to rule absolutely next to, of course, Bane himself, preferably through terror and domination. They instill the fear of Bane in all, but especially in those who do not give at least lip service to his supremacy as a god. Requirements: patron deity, Bane, makes sense. Lawful evil, base attack bonus of +4, and the ability to cast 3rd level divine spells. So clerics who are Dreadmasters must have access to either the Hatred or Tyranny domains, 5 ranks in Intimidate, 4 ranks in Sense Motive, feats, Leadership, Skill Focus, Intimidate, and Spell Focus Enchantment. And then you must have a cohort of at least 6th level. Okay, so the cohorts with the leadership feat. The leadership feat, I think you have to be level 6 in order to take in general. So what's kind of interesting about that is all these other abilities are relatively easy to get. I think maybe the Intimidate might be the harder one to do because I don't think that's a cleric's class skill. But like truthfully, the base attack bonus of +4 and then the ability to cast 3rd level spells. You have to be 5th level to cast those spells anyway. So by the time you're 5th level, I think your base attack is close to that anyway. So a pretty decently easy one to get. I think the cohort of being 6th level might be the hardest part of it. I haven't looked at the leadership feat probably since 2000 because I don't think I've ever used it. So I don't know exactly how that works, but I think the cohort is a few levels lower than your actual character. But what do we get here? We get, for class features, Dominating Aura. The Dreadmaster is immune to fear effects, magical or otherwise. Enemies within 20 feet of a Dreadmaster suffer a -4 morale penalty on saving throws against fear effects. The radius of this aura increases at 3rd, 5th, 7th, and 9th level as a supernatural ability. So it starts at 20 feet, then 30, then 40, then 50, then 60 feet. So that's pretty mean. Fear effects can be really bad. At the time that I'm recording this, just a couple of days ago, some friends came over to run one of their D&D games, and we ended up fighting an undead beholder, and he cast his fear ray on my cleric, and the only way that my cleric could fail the save was by rolling a natural 1, and guess what happened? That's exactly what I rolled, and I ended up having to run away for a certain number of rounds. And while that happened, the other player, because there's only 2 of us in that campaign right now, the other player was charmed by the beholder, was walked into a trap, and subsequently ended up getting disintegrated, which kind of sucked. But yeah, fear can be pretty brutal. All right, they get Rodcraft, starting at 4th level. So Dreadmasters have an affinity for magic rods, seeing them as an extension of the symbolism of the divine scepter of rulership that is also exemplified in Bane's favorite weapon, the Morningstar. Beginning at 4th level, when a Dreadmaster makes a rod, the DCs for saving throws against the powers of the rod they craft are 2 higher than they would be for those made by a non-Dreadmaster crafter. So generally speaking, when you craft a magic item, the DC is based off of the caster level of like the minimum level that you would be to qualify to like be able to cast the spell that's on the rod. And I think rods have like a set DC, which is they're okay, but this makes it a bit higher for that. So I think that's pretty cool. Dreadmasters especially love to make rods of rulership, enemy detection, and lordly might. Favorite enemy. Ooh, at 5th level, the Dreadmaster selects a type of creature or organization as a favorite enemy. This class feature functions like the favorite enemy ability of the Ranger, with the additional Forgotten Realms setting option, page 26, Forgotten Realm campaign setting, of selecting an organization rather than a creature type. So this is kind of neat, but it's 3.0 favorite enemy, so it only gives you a +1 bonus on damage rolls against that enemy type. And it increases to +2 at 10th level. So you're probably close to 20th level by that point. Dealing an extra +2, it's not great. Enhanced leadership. Beginning at 6th level, the Dreadmaster receives a +2 bonus to the leadership score. This extraordinary ability increases to +4 at 8th level and +6 at 10th level. He still cannot attract a cohort of greater than his character level. Okay. At 6th through 10th level, the Dreadmaster does not suffer the -2 cumulative leadership penalty for causing the death of a cohort for one cohort per each Dreadmaster level above 5th. Oof, my goodness. So yeah, you can just start signing them to their desk left, right, and center, and it should be fine. Fanatical loyalty. Followers and cohorts of the Dreadmaster become fanatically loyal to the Dreadmaster. Only Bane himself can inspire greater loyalty in them. They will not balk at life-threatening actions or actions that would normally lie outside their moral compunctions and normal behavior if the Dreadmaster asks them to perform such actions. Spells that the Dreadmaster casts upon his cohorts that normally grant a saving throw or saving throw bonus if subject is asked to take life-threatening actions or actions contrary to their nature do not do so if the subject is fanatically loyal. So yeah, you can, if you were to cast like Charm Person on one of your followers and get them to do something that they wouldn't normally, they'll just do it. And then at level 9, you can get a special cohort. The special cohorts include Doppelgangers, Hound Horrors, the Beholderkin Gouger, the Beholderkin Death Kiss. That's actually pretty brutal. Cohort equivalent level for that is 16th. Bane Guard, Phantom Monsters of Companion, Monsters of Faerun, Bane Dead, Hellhound, Displacer Beast, Impt, or a Bane Lar. So there you go. That's the Dreadmaster. And then right on the next page, we got the old Fiend Slayer. So to qualify for the Fiend Slayer prestige class, I'm not going to describe what it does. I think it's pretty self-explanatory there. But to qualify, you must be any non-evil. Any non-evil, non-good. So you got to be neutral. Okay. So basically you could be lawful or chaotic neutral or true neutral. So yeah, non-evil or non-good. Interesting. Base attack bonus +4. Knowledge Arcana, 5 ranks. Knowledge of the Planes, 2 ranks. Favored enemy. Ooh, here we go. Any evil outsider type must be able to cast protection from evil. So special X paladins can forego the favored enemy requirement and protection from evil requirement if they are willing to instantly lose 1 level of X paladin. For example, a 6th level X paladin who has the right number of skill ranks and knowledge arcana, knowledge of planes, can take the Fiend Slayer prestige class, but he will be a 5th level X paladin, 1st level Fiend Slayer. The X paladin who decides to make this level switch need not gain a new level to facilitate the change. Once the decision to take the level of Fiend Slayer is made, it happens. So interestingly, an X-Paladin, I guess, yeah, because I think you still have to be lawful good. But that is a mess of abilities. I'm going to throw that out there right now. So base attack bonus of +4. That one's pretty easy to get. Knowledge Arcana, though, like and favorite enemy, like the favorite enemy is a Ranger class feature and only a Ranger class feature in the base version of 3.0. And I don't think they get Knowledge Arcana as a class skill. So that's a rough one to get. So, but at the same time, usually you wouldn't take more than 1 level of Ranger anyway. So you dip your toes into the Ranger class, you get a +1 to that base attack bonus, you get the favorite enemy. You also get like the 2-up in fighting if you wanted to bother with any of that. And then you just move on to other stuff there. But yeah, it's just interesting because I don't think the Ranger also gets protection from evil as a spell that they can cast. So that's kind of a mess of a class to qualify for. I'm going to be completely and totally honest here. So they do get spells, and what a paladin or ranger spellcaster progression there. They get up to 4th level spells. And they start with 0, so you better have a bonus spell from your attribute. Man, I don't know. And their spell list here, Detect Evil. For level 1, Detect Evil, Endure Elements, Magic Weapon, Protection from Evil, Remove Fear or Summon Monster. So, like, it's a 1st level Fiend Slayer spell, Protection from Evil, but they already have to have Protection from Evil from another spellcasting source anyway. So, And I don't know. Second level, Bull Strength, Cat's Grace, Endurance, Resist Elements, See Invisibility, Summon Monster 2. Not good. Dispel Magic, Magic Vestment, Protection from Elements, Searing Light. Searing Light's alright. Summon Monster for third level. And then fourth level is Banishment. I mean, that's good, but you're not really slaying the Fiend. You're just sending it back home. Freedom of Movement, that's a good one. Greater Magic Weapon and Summon Monster 5. I can tell you right now, this class isn't worth it. This class is not worth it. So they get Fiend Hunting at first level. Fiend Slayer gains a bonus against evil outsiders due to his extensive study and training, proper techniques in combating them. Gains +1 bonus to bluff, listen, sense motive, spot, Mulder's lore checks when using these skills against evil outsiders. Likewise, they gain the same bonus on, so it's basically favorite enemy. And then it increases as you go up in level. So for every 3 levels, so at 3, 6, and 9th, it goes up by an additional +1. Now this does stack with the Ranger's favorite enemy ability, so that's good. But it's still, I don't know, it's still 3.0 favorite enemy. So, take from that what you will. Then they get Fiend Skin by magically grafting bits of fiendish flesh to his body. A first level Fiend Slayer gives himself a +1 natural armor bonus, and for every 3 levels beyond first, so at 4th, 7th, and 10th, the bonus increases by +1. It's an extraordinary ability. They can detect fiends, as like the Detect Undead spell. They can see in darkness, so that's pretty good. Like, be able to see in magical darkness. There were spells later on that allow you to do that as well, but not much for the early days of 3.0 allowed player characters to see in magical darkness. So that's a good ability. Smite Fiends. Once per day, a Fiend Slayer of 4th level or higher can attempt to smite evil outsiders with 1 normal melee attack. They add their Wisdom bonus to the attack roll and inflicts 2 extra points of damage per class level. For example, an 8th level Fiend Slayer with a longsword will inflict 1d8 plus 16 points of damage for the Fiend Hunting, plus any additional bonuses for high strength, magical, and blah blah blah. If the Fiend Slayer accidentally smites a creature that is not an evil outsider, the smite has no effect, but is still used up for the day. And again, like 3.0 smite for the Paladin, you get it once per day. And Spurn Fiend's Touch. A 5th level Fiend Slayer applies a Wisdom bonus as an additional bonus to all saving throws against effects and spells used by evil outsiders. Thus, a Fiend Slayer adds double his Wisdom bonus to will saving throws. Okay, yeah, that's all right. Clutches of Vengeance. Once per day, a 7th level Fiend Slayer can negate a single evil outsider spell resistance and damage reduction for 1 round per level with a successful melee touch attack against the target. No save. That's a good ability. I will say right there, that's probably the best ability that they have so far. But like truthfully, in 3.0, it's not as good as negating damage reduction would be in 3.5, because in 3.0, damage reduction is based on the plus of the weapon. So you're probably at a point where your magic weapon likely has the magical plus modifier that you need to overcome the DR anyway. Most of them don't go above like +3, I don't think. Some of them might. Some like the more powerful demons or fiends might have like DR / +4 or +5. But like if this were 3.5 and to be able to negate not needing either cold iron or silver or whatever for the property of your weapon for damage reduction, that's pretty good. And then Fiend Bane Shout at 8th level. The Fiend Slayer can once per day as a supernatural ability loose a shout that stuns all evil outsiders within 50 feet for 1 round. DC 10 plus their charisma bonus plus their Fiend Slayer class level. Again, this isn't great because they have 2 different abilities that use different attributes. So like for the Spurn Fiend's Touch, you add your Wisdom bonus, right? So you're probably going to have a decent Wisdom because you're likely going to have Divine Spellcasting there. But then you also, like, you want a good Charisma bonus to make this ability worthwhile to stun fiends for a round. I don't, generally speaking, I don't like it when a prestige class or any class requires multiple abilities for their effects, right? If it's gonna be wisdom here, it should be wisdom there, right? Or if it's gonna be charisma here, it should be charisma there. That's the way that I think about it anyway. Let me know if your viewpoint differs from that. And then they've got neutralize evil. Upon reaching 10th level, this Fiend Slayer can use the following spell-like ability once per day after a successful melee attack. Can prevent an evil outsider from using any supernatural spell-like abilities, spells, or magic items for 24 hours. Magic items, huh? The decision to use neutralize evil must be made before the touch attack is made. If the Fiend Slayer accidentally uses it on a creature that's not an evil outsider, or misses the attack, then it's used up. Yeah, not as good. So, like, this guy here, the Dreadmaster, this is great for an NPC. And I think, generally speaking, like, prestige classes, I think are just better suited for NPCs to make them kind of interesting or stand out. Because in 3rd edition, like, NPCs were made as player characters, but kind of worse. So, like, I would use prestige classes for NPCs, but this one here, I wouldn't be touching that at all, period. All right. Oh, some Nodwick. I love me some Nodwick. Here we go. The armies of Thalos. Back to chainmail. Here's the Hammerer. And let me tell you, this thing sucks. I had a friend who would always cross-faction a Hammerer into his army because, like, if they go, they hit like a truck, right? But they're unreliable. So you have to roll to see if they even do anything. So you'd roll a d20, and if you roll an 11 or higher, they get to act normally for the one round, which, like, a lot of times they just wouldn't. Like, when you really needed them the most, that's when they weren't there. But it's still, like, kind of neat. Like, Thalos had gnomes, and gnomes were tinkerers, so they had some automatons like that. Mind Flayers. Silicon Sorcery, Age of Wonders. Sage Advice. Those are some long descriptions. I'm not gonna get too many of those. All right, so okay, let's take a look here. So, what is the base DC for a spot or listen check? The player's handbook seems to say that the base DC is 5 for spot checks, whereas the Dungeon Master Guide states the base is 20. Likewise, listen checks seem to have a base of 5 in some places and more than others. So generally, and again, I haven't looked at the answer they've given here yet, but generally speaking, spot and listen tend to be opposed rolls, right? Like it might, if it's like an environmental thing, then it might have a set DC. But if you're trying to spot somebody that's trying to hide, then you would have to get a spot check that would be, I think, equal to maybe, but definitely needs to be, or definitely above will succeed in seeing them. So let's see what we got here. As with any skill, the DC for spot and listen depends on the situation. Usually a spot or listen check requires an opposed roll. That's okay, that's what I said. In this case, the spot of the user's spot check is opposed by the hide check from another creature trying to avoid notice. Listen works the same way, except that move silently, the opposing skill is an opposed check has no base DC. Okay. Okay, so if you're trying to do listen, move silently is the opposing skill. An opposed check has no base DC. An opposing check results sets the DC, so equal to or higher then. Sometimes prevailing conditions can affect the DC of an opposed check. For example, distance affects spot and listen checks. You increase by +1 for every 10 feet of distance between the spot or listen user and the creature trying to avoid notice. Okay, so yeah, I don't know where they got those base ones from. That's kind of interesting, but again, like, look at this one. So this is one question here, and that's the answer. So we're not going to touch that one, but holy heck. All right, how come there isn't any information in the rules about rate of fire for a ranged weapon? I can tell you right now, because rate of fire is not a thing in 3rd edition. This is definitely somebody who's used to 1st and 2nd edition AD&D, where a bow would have a rate of fire usually of 2 arrows per round. So in 3rd edition, it's based on your base attack to get extra attacks here. So here we go. Because there's no such thing as rate of fire in the game, your base attack bonus determines how many times you can attack in a round. The difference, though, is that all classes get at least 2 attacks per round as they go up in levels, versus in AD&D, especially 2nd edition, where I think it was only the warrior classes that ever got more than 1 attack per round. But yeah, cool stuff. So again, one of these days I might go through and look a little more closely at some of the Sage Advice stuff. But I usually like to pick one or two like questions and see if I know the answer. And I think I've been pretty good on that so far. All right, some dungeon craft. So just some, I guess, pre-made or advice for creating stuff. And there's our ugly PC portraits. And I think we're pretty well at the back of the book here. Painting your warbands. Some more Thalos love here. And there's Captain Crunch, the sorcerer. And the paladin with the bowl cut. I did not collect Thalos. They had some ugly minis early on. But anyway, some interesting stuff here. 7 steps creating cunning foes. Okay, so setting their goals, source of power, ways to defend a power source, ways to expand a power source, employ or cunning tools a foe can employ, ways a villain can gain something through parlay. That's cool stuff there. Campaign cartographer, so some stuff for Windows 95, 98, and Windows 2000. How many people use Windows 2000? It did not, I don't think it stuck around for very long. I think XP came out pretty quickly after that. I had a computer with Windows 95. I had a friend who had a computer with Windows 98. And then the next operating system they had was XP. But yeah, just some cool software, like again, Campaign Cartographer to make maps with. And I think like the people in like some of these magazines use like this kind of software. Character Artist, City Designer, Dioramas, Dungeon Designer 2, Fractal Terrains, and then just some board game stuff. And what's new with Phil and Dixie. So some comics there. And then their Tales of Destiny. So there we go. That was a look at Dragon issue 287. I mean, it is what it is. Probably not the best issue that I've covered so far in this series. But like for me, Dragon was always kind of hit or miss anyway. The fact that they were usually tied to whatever book was coming out that same month meant that if you weren't interested in the book coming out that month, or if you weren't really planning on using that book too much, the magazine probably didn't have a lot for you. There were those like 6 prestige classes that I could also take a look at in a future video if you want me to, or those dream domains if you want me to. But yeah, there we go. Out of This World, issue number 287, September 2001. An okay issue. Let me know in the comments below. Did you use anything from this magazine back in the day, this specific issue? Did you use the Dream Planes? Did you use any of the prestige classes? Did you read the fiction? Let me know that in the comments below. I always enjoy doing these videos. For me, like this is the first time I think I've ever flipped through this issue. This was not one of the ones that I had when I started collecting. This is one that I got years later when I bought a bunch of stuff from a friend of mine as he was moving out of the province. So this is the first time I think I've ever looked at this issue, and it honestly, unless people want me to recover some of the stuff in here in a future video, probably the last time I look at this one, but still cool to have nonetheless. Anyway, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you checking out this video. Thank you as always. It really means the world to me, and I will see you all next time. Until then, take care.